Hey guys, it's Maria. I'm here with my very late July 2025 reading roundup. So let's get into it. I read. What did I read? One, two, three, four, five. Five books, which kind of average. I already know that August is going to be a lot slower just because the books that I'm reading are a little bit slower to digest. But we're talking about July, and the first book that I read was Native Son by Richard Wright. This is actually the second time that I have read Native Son. I read it for the first time in January of 2020. And I really read Richard Wright's memoir. I was in a big memoir phase at the time, and I read his book Black Boy, and he talks about how a lot of his inspiration for Bigger and some of the experiences that Bigger has come from his own lived experiences as a black man in 1930s America. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go read Native Son, so here I am once again. I give it a 5 out of 5. I really enjoy it. I think that if you're looking to kind of expand your reading material, this could be a good book to start with. Don't get me wrong, there are some issues that have been pointed out to me with this book, and we'll get to that in subsequent reading for July. But yeah, Native Son. The second book that I finished is another reread, actually, and it's Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, by Mary Shelley. And this is actually my bedazzled version. I love this book so much. Frankenstein is probably one of my favorite books, if not, it's in my top 2, for sure. Top 3, for sure. I love it. I mean, it's been dissected. They're in-depth literary analyses, literal analyses that you can look up and go watch. But I really love this. One of my English professors in college, who's a dear friend now, had told me once that I should read it through the lens of feminism and motherhood and like mother-child relationships, especially when you consider Mary Shelley's relationship with her mother and how kind of wrought that was. And so I love this book. The creature has such a spot in my heart. And every time, he's got 2 big speeches. Once when he is speaking with Frankenstein, and at the end of the book when he's speaking to the captain of the ship, whose name I forget. And those speeches, just like every time I listen to the audiobook. This is my personal copy. For this reading, I listened to an audiobook. And as I hear him speaking, I'm just like sitting there like, oh, so much. And I really love the creature and how he deals with things, and he wants so badly to be loved, and he wants so badly to, be this beautiful creature that Frankenstein had envisioned him as. And Frankenstein himself cannot allow him to be loved and to love him. And I think that when you really nitpick and when you look at it from the lens of like motherhood And I believe it can speak to postpartum grief and postpartum depression, because you're looking at this thing that you've created and you've put your heart and your soul and so much time and energy into it, and then you're horrified by it and you're disgusted and you don't know why, but you cannot stand to look at it. And I don't have kids, by the way, but I just, knowing my friends who have gone through, traumatic postpartum experiences, or, they have kids of their own, or they've struggled with postpartum depression, and the idea of looking at something and being horrified by it, and you have to sit with that and you have to deal with it. And Frankenstein, because he's a man, and also this is a fictional story with a monster, but because he's a man, he can run away from it and just ignore it, and he does not have to think about it until it comes back to haunt him. But if you're a woman, this whole thing about, like, you have to, be there for your child, and, it's an instant love connection, and right away, I love it. This this book is great. And then also just the language is fun, and I love epistolary, I think I'm saying that right, epistolary writing, where it's in the form of letters or, other clippings. Dracula is another book that is kind of in that format, where it's just different sources of material. So fun. 5 out of 5. I recommend Frankenstein to anybody. The third book that I read this month was digital. I borrowed it from my library with my Libby app, and it's Notes of a Native Son by James Baldwin. I got my notes over here. First off, James Baldwin, I love your title for this, because famously Richard Wright and James Baldwin did not get along. And so this is a series of essays. It's a collection of essays written by James Baldwin addressing several different things that he is seeing and he is understanding. One being Native Son, which is written by Richard Wright, which I read earlier this month. And then he also speaks about, there's a movie that he talks about, and how white people are so dull. And then there is he talks about the expats in Paris and what they're dealing with. He also speaks about a time when he was actually jailed in Paris and how that, affected him and how he had to deal with that. I highly recommend it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It really made me see the flaws in Native Son. You know how when it's like the worst person, you agree with the worst person you know? James Baldwin's not the worst person I know. But it made me realize that there were flaws in Native Son that I had not seen before. And I think if I do a reread of Native Son, then I will be much quicker to be able to pick up on the parts where it's lacking, and I'll be able to think more critically about it. So I really appreciate having read Notes of a Native Son, because now if I go back to Native Son, then I can pull it apart and dissect it a little bit better, which I really love literary analysis, so that's always so much fun for me. And also, I fell in love with James Baldwin's writing style. This is actually the first thing of his that I've written, and his language and how he manipulates a sentence and how it can start off at one thing and then just like turn on a dime, really appreciate. So I have added some James Baldwin books to my to read list, so looking forward to that. Okay, this fourth book It's really painful. And it's Beloved Viking by Betty Brooks. And this book is actually part of what I told my friend I was going to do a Goodwill books. So I went to I got this book at Goodwill, and it was like, $1.75, I don't know. And I told her, I see all of these, I'm not on TikTok, but like Book Talk, Bookstagram, all of the really, popular book content creators who are really great. I probably watch all of them. But a lot of times it feels like they're just kind of cycling through the same 10 books at any given time, like whatever is the most popular or just newly released or whatever. And I was like, one of my favorite books has not been in print for like 30 years because it's just not that popular. So I really want to try to shine a light on kind of the hidden gems and, see if there are books out there that I can get for 50 cents that become something I love. And then if it's something I love, I want to be able to share it with y'all. That was not this book. Don't read this book. Okay. Give you the synopsis, which I gave it 2 out of 5. Okay. Now, the only reason it got 2 stars was because I think it has a very interesting plot. Like, the premise is very interesting in that this Viking dude, it has been theorized, apparently, she talks about this in the beginning, but it's been theorized that Vikings actually explored the Mississippi River, like they came down into the Gulf and then up the Mississippi River. And, like, that makes sense, right? Leif Erikson, there were probably Vikings exploring the East Coast way before the other guy got here. And so I was like, that's really interesting. So the premise is Viking guy and all his buddies come up the Mississippi River, and eventually he goes up the Arkansas River and makes his way over to where the Anasazi people are. And that was really cool, really interesting to me, because I've actually been out in the Four Corners region and seen some of the Anasazi places, and so I was like, this is really interesting, this is really intriguing, And then they fall in love. Obviously, you can tell by the cover of the book what's happening here. Don't read this book. The main character almost gets raped like 6 different times. Not by dude, but constant themes of sexual violence. Most importantly, ton of cultural appropriation. It feels sleazy as hell and just gross. And this girl is supposed to be indigenous. Like, that's not how she looks. Like cottage cheese, friends. I do not know. The main character also, they're just not very good together. He's constantly thinking the worst of her and just like all these bad things, and it's just like, oh, suddenly over the course of 3 days they can speak each other's language, and I'm like, that's not how that works. It's not how that works. So there's like 3 or 5 plot lines that are just completely dropped in the middle of the book. Plus, yeah. Oh, she's also like 16. I forgot. At the beginning, it's like, oh, her long flowing hair that should have been cut now that she's reached her 16th birthday or whatever she calls it. And I should have stopped reading it as soon as I read that, but I wanted to be able to report if it was actually good or not. It's not. Don't read this. I think I might just throw this away, so that nobody else has to ever read it. So, 2 out of 5. The last book that I read for July, which I will actually highly recommend, was Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. This book was so fun. I gave it 4 out of 5, and the only reason I gave it 4 stars instead of 5 stars is because some of the side characters just feel a little underdeveloped to me, considering how good the story was. It's so good. This guy, Misha, is a writer in Hollywood, and he's gay, and they come to him and they're like, hey, you've got these 2 characters in your TV show, and what are you gonna do with them? And he's like, they're lesbians. I'm gonna make them kiss at the end of the season because that's what this all has been leading up to. And they're like, no, you're gonna kill them off, and that's gonna be it. And he was like, no. And they were like, you're gonna lose your job. And then all of this crazy shit starts happening because Misha is actually a horror writer. Like, horror is the genre that he is most comfortable in. And queer horror, actually, for myself, is a very fun genre to be in, like, and to read and explore, because I feel like there's just so many more layers that can be made. And so, yeah, it's really fun. Really enjoy horror now. I'm getting into the groove of horror overall. But, so, the Misha has to, all of the monsters that he has written for past movies, past TV shows, past stories, start coming after him. And so the book is him trying to get to the bottom of what is going on, because all of these monsters that are based on traumas and fears that he experienced throughout his life as a closeted queer man, closeted gay man, are coming after him suddenly. It's really good. I highly recommend it. It's just like really fast paced, so many twists and turns, really great representation, and it calls out like rainbow capitalism. Capitalism will only value you if it's allowed to make money off of you. Lack of representation in certain areas, and how that is then used to their advantage. I really enjoyed it. It's really fun. Highly recommend. Apparently Chuck Tingle has some other books that are out that look interesting, to say the least, so I'm going to maybe dip my toes into some of them. But yeah, well, I hope that y'all, if you made it this far, I want to say I really appreciate y'all watching this video. I struggle with I want to make these videos. They're really fun to me. But I also struggle with wanting to make them perfect and like, here's how I want it to be done. And I don't know anything about video editing. So I'm trying to figure this out as I go along. And I see these things that are like, make it scrappy. Like, if you want to do something, do it. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. You just need to get started. So I really appreciate y'all. I hope you've had a great month of August so far. I am really enjoying the books I'm reading right now in August, so hopefully I will get that video uploaded quicker in the month of September. So, bye guys.